going on, Energy Family? I'm Ace. Welcome to another edition of Ace Wolf Presents. I haven't been making as much content lately. I kind of went into like an ego transfiguration period for the last about 6-7 months. Some things went down in my life, realized I needed to heal some more. Felt like I needed to apply some of the things that I was talking about in my previous videos in order to make them more concrete, in order to bring experience and wisdom to the knowledge. I feel that I'm ready now. I just went through what I call the spirit flu. That's what this episode will be on. I wrote an article on it. So we're going to go through that article. I'm going to read it to y'all, and I'm going to give a little bit of feedback at the end, and then we'll close it out. But I'm really grateful for all of you who still watch my content, who still follow me after all this time. I really appreciate your patience, and I really appreciate you growing with me. I will never claim to be a guru. I will never claim to be an expert, but I'm just a human being who spends a lot of quality time with himself and present to see where these gaps are in my life and in my consciousness and in my psyche. And then I come to you with what I learned. Maybe there will be crumbs in there for you or puzzle pieces that can help you along the way. And so I'm hoping that today, with this discussion on spirit flu, it'll help you not only look at the times when you get sick a little differently, but it'll also bring you insight on how to use these times of sickness as means to grow. So bear with me. I'm going to switch over to my Substack. And if you all would like to hit that subscribe button before we do that, that like button, if you would like to donate to my work, all those links are below. And if you want to subscribe to my Substack, which I'm going to go to now, and here we are. And so this is my Substack. It's called Ace Wolf Presents. You go to acewolfpresents.substack.com. You can subscribe to my newsletter. I'm going to try to pump out more articles. But what I've learned through these last 6 months is if I force myself to make content, I burn out very quickly. So bear with me. I'm a starseed lightworker Jedi on my own journey, on my own mission, and I try to produce quality content as much as possible. But there are just some times throughout the year where I really need to go within myself. And if I'm going to be telling all you to do certain things or apply certain things or try certain things, then I must be willing to do that too. So let's get into what the spirit flu taught me. Okay. During the 22222 portal, I found myself in an energetic crucible of sorts. 10 days of unadulterated mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual chaos. I was hit with a bout of the spirit flu. I call it this because I don't believe we actually get sick per se. I believe there are points in time when the body needs to expel toxins, and thus cold and flu-like symptoms materialize within us. I believe this coincides with the spirit telling the body what is needed at that time, which is unknown to our waking selves. It becomes a trial by fire where we must move through the challenges using everything we have learned. During these times, we must seek physical remedies while applying a spiritual acumen to help the vessel heal effectively. Hence why I call it the spirit flu, because our spirits use the flu to test us and help us evolve. This bout with the spirit flu was on an entirely different level, though. It took me completely by storm. I didn't know what was up or down. I couldn't tell you my right from my left. It was a whirlwind of physical pain, mental anguish, emotional chaos, and spiritual disconnection. Because of this, I allowed myself to be sucked back into the matrix by consuming the fear porn being spread across the internet. In my weakened state, I wasn't able to shield myself from the energetically attaching to it. This led me to absorbing and identifying with it, creating chaos within the chaos I was already experiencing, and it really got to me. Being that I was disconnected from spirit, I began viewing all this from a 3D human lens, watching the frequency radiation weapons being used on protesters in Canberra, learning about what these jabs are really made of and what will eventually happen to our population, listening to the heresy being spewed all over the media to control the narrative, realizing that we aren't even close to the end of this thing and the fallout will be severe. All of this truth evolved into my truth, and I quickly became discouraged, angry, and bitter, just how I used to be. How can we keep doing this to one another? How can so many humans still not care? Without connection to spirit, Without my 100,000 foot eagle eye view that I've become accustomed to taking, I was left with a hopeless reality. That reality being, I'm but a mere human with little power to do anything about it. As this fear based ego perspective further infected my psyche, it became harder to meditate, more difficult to pray, and all the human part of me yearned for was truth. No matter how miserable it made me, after hours down the rabbit hole, I felt the need to respond somehow, to join in the fight some way. Maybe I can make the truther content again. I just didn't see that adding enough value. Maybe I can call my governor about the chemtrails happening daily. I didn't see them telling me the truth. I wanted answers. I wanted action, yet I felt hopeless. Nothing I could think of resonated as a proper response to the grief I felt inside. Eventually, I began thinking about this vision I had during a meditation the other day. I was brought to this scene where I was standing at the border of China and I wasn't allowed entry. There were these people on the other side of the border that I needed to connect with but couldn't. Chinese cops standing shoulder to shoulder were in my way. I looked down and there was a football in my hand. When I threw it, it left this dimension, went around the cops, and then entered back into this dimension where the people I needed to connect with were. I knew what it entailed at the time, but I didn't yet know how it fit into my dilemma. As I continued pondering that vision, it struck me. I'm a multidimensional powerhouse capable of shifting reality with my consciousness. I finally understood the dream. It was representing another way of fighting for this silent war in the physical. We aren't meant to go head to head with the enemy in the flesh. We're not even supposed to go head to head with the enemy in a virtual setting. As multidimensional powerhouses, we need to use the power of our consciousness to affect change on this earth plane. We have the ability to shift timelines, jump dimensions, and unify our energy fields. This is where we can focus our fight now. This is how we maintain our vibration while affecting the game being played out there. I gave my mind back to the matrix. I believe I needed a contrast. It showed me where my intent needs to be placed. With a very real threat looming around us, we will be saved. However, we also need to help ourselves out. We need to come together in consciousness, using love and light to shift dimensions, change timelines, and heal Mother Earth. Simply put, sometimes surrendering isn't an option. Sometimes accepting what is, as is impossible. So, how do we balance this? By being privy to the present chaos, but focused on what we want to build in the future. How do we reconcile such stark dichotomies? Through acknowledgement and effort. We first acknowledge to ourselves that there is an issue which we simply can't accept. For whatever reason, our attempts to surrender into it, allow it, or accept it fall short. We then acknowledge how we truly feel about it. We inquire introspectively why we feel how we feel. And then we put in the right effort in the right ways to do something about it. Right simply means in resonance with ourselves. Again, why self introspection is an important part of this concept. We must be willing to sit with ourselves and explore all the ways to handle the situation at hand. Sometimes the effort that needs to be made has nothing to do with a human action in the 3D. Sometimes the effort needs to be made from a higher perspective in a different dimension where they cannot control us and where we are the strongest. The right way will feel the best inside. It will vibrate or resonate in such a way that brings us solace or relief. The wrong way usually creates emotion within us, whether that emotion is fear, anxiety, anger, etc. If we get emotional thinking of one way to alleviate a situation, then it's most likely not the right way for us. The Canadian trucker showed us that the momentum is now on our side. The American convoy will highlight this even further. Yet, as Starsiege Jedis and Lightworkers, we don't need to get into a truck and park in front of a Capitol to affect change. We don't have to stare down government goons in order to stand up for freedom. We simply have to come together regularly, connect consciousness, and think about the reality we desire to manifest. That is literally all we need to do now. The Maharishi effect is real, but it takes putting in the right effort together at coordinated times to make it come to fruition. Many of us want New Earth to be here yesterday. Many of us yearn for peace, harmony, and brotherly sisterly love. Yet what are we doing to foster this into our realities? What more can we be doing together to manifest this entirely new way of being? Generally, the work that we've needed to do has been on an individual internal basis these last several years. We've been focused on healing from the events of our past lives and honing the gifts and abilities that have come to us. But now, it seems like we've begun to wait for a savior again. Once more, it seems we are waiting for someone else to come build what's in our heads. Unfortunately, New Earth will not build itself, and it's up to us to bring it into fruition. If we continue to rest on our laurels, new Earth will be bought and sold like old Earth was and has been. The Starseeds, Jedis, and Lightworkers are the tip of the spear during this transition because we are bringing higher consciousness and integrity to these projects. This is how we will ensure that everything is built for the highest and best for all. This means that the seeds of tomorrow must be planted today. We seed our ideas into the world through effort and acknowledgement made today, seeing which issues need to be addressed, finding the best course of action to take, and then executing on an effort that is both right for us and in the highest and best interest of all. This is done through coordinating our consciousness to bring about the changes we so desire. This happens by preparing the seeds now together and then sowing them when the time is right. Collectively, through this effort, we will begin to see waves of change begin to materialize by the combined individual effort each of us are making. Yet, it is up to us to defend our freedom. It is up to us to stand for our liberty. It is up to us to free ourselves from the encroachment of tyranny. And it is up to us, individually, as a collective, to decide how this is best done. What the Spirit Flu showed me was that it's all about choice now. It's all about choosing for ourselves, with each other, what world we really want to live in. That acknowledgement and effort is all we need to shift our perspective. That connecting together in the fifth dimension and using our consciousness to shift the frequency of our entire planet is all that's left to do. The world as we knew it is over. There's no going back to the way things were. The onus is now on us to create the reality we all desire. We can be on the right side of history by thinking about what needs to happen, or we can literally pull our desired future into reality by working through a unified consciousness. The time is right for this. The momentum is on our side. All that's left is the right effort at the right time in the right ways, and we can create heaven on earth once again. The Spirit Flu showed me this. It reminded me of how I used to be and how I no longer want that as my reality anymore, with ease and grace. The Spirit Flu was such an important thing for me. Over the last couple years, so many people have become so afraid of getting sick. But in reality, is becoming sick a thing unless we're neglecting ourselves? The Spirit Flu forced me to stop. It forced me to spend time with myself. It took me out of my heart. It took me out of my spirit where where I tend to overlook things. It feels so good that I tend to kind of just discount some of the human stuff that I still need to deal with. And that's why my higher self, my guides, God, source, however you want to look at it, they put us into these situations so that we gain the contrast necessary to better understand ourselves. And what I better understood about myself was that I need to spend time with myself. And that's not just meditating, and that's not just napping, and no, just actually spending quality time with myself, asking myself the right questions at the right times. What the Spirit Flu brought me was this ability to ask myself these questions that led to this article being written. It was a beautiful article. I cried when I was done with it, when I was done writing it. I truly healed from the Spirit Flu that I went through. It was a very traumatizing experience. I truly healed from it through writing that article. That's why I say gratitude journals, setting in morning intentions, or just writing out how you feel is so imperative. It's so important because you're taking the chaos out of the quantum computer and you're putting it into the material realm. And if you want to take it a step further, go burn it. Burn it in a pot, burn it out in a fire, get rid of it somehow, shred it. That's the way to take the thoughts out of our heads, the mania out of our heads, and let it go so that we can see the truth for what it really is. And that's again what the Spirit Flu taught me. It's time for us to come together, especially those who have been awakened for how long, especially those red pillars, the truthers. All of us are at different parts of our enlightenment. We're at different parts of our awakening, and we can truly help other people. It's not about just highlighting the negative stuff that's happening. I enjoy watching the propaganda fear porn now, especially after going through the Spirit Flow and gaining a better perspective of it, because now I can see where it is I need to do work at night. When I go into the astral, I get into a deep meditation with my partner or with other people that join me. And instead of complaining and worrying and being in states of fear about what we're seeing on the TVs and the black mirrors and all the bullshit, we're truly just, sorry, there's a dog barking. We're truly just visualizing and bringing into reality what it is that we desire. Instead of being worried or being upset about all the propaganda that's being spewed about, Russia and Ukraine, we simply just created a 5D template in our mind's eye during a meditation, anchored it almost on like an augmented reality onto Ukraine so that the Ukrainian people themselves can choose the 5D. We don't have to fight into 3D. We don't have to argue with one another. We don't have to try to be right. If there's something that you don't agree with, then move past it. If there's something in somebody else's channel that you don't like, then don't be in that channel anymore. But trying to get everyone to create or be this construct that we have in our heads as theirs, that's where we mess up. That's where that spiritual ego comes from. And that's what we're trying to get rid of, so we can truly come into this Christ consciousness, this unified field of consciousness, and create a reality that's the highest and best for all, where everybody wins and everybody gets what it is they want, because it's all possible. And that's what they don't want us to know. And that is why I'm here making this content, even though I'm insecure sometimes, even though I feel like nobody wants to listen to anything I have to say. I go through the same stuff that a lot of other people go through. I just don't allow it to dictate my path forward. And that's part of this awakening. That's part of enlightenment. And that's part of gaining spiritual maturity. And so if anybody would like to work with me and learn more from me and what I've been through, not only just these last 6 months, but just the last 12, 13 years of my life, then I would love to work with you. I'm really great at working with people when it comes to their traumas, especially childhood trauma, and letting go of that trauma in specific ways using my spiritual release protocol so that it never affects you again the first time you do it. I'm here to help people see that they are amazing, that they are perfect, and they are completely whole. And our ego programs that were created at a time when we weren't strong enough to take care of ourselves, that's what we target, and that's what we let go, because they're telling you things that are not true. They're giving you insights about yourself that were from past versions. You're no longer that version anymore. And I'm here to help people, to help anyone through those triggers and those traumas so that they can see how amazing they are, and then that they can start actually pursuing the life that they truly, truly dream of, desire, and want. So if you want to work with me in any way, you can hit me up at damahwolf@gmail.com. That's DAMAHWOLF@gmail.com. You can sign up for my newsletter. I'll be putting out more articles like the one I just read to you. I'll be putting out more videos. I have a bunch more interviews coming out, more roundtable discussions. New Earth is here. That's what I'm about. And this is what we're going to talk about. And if you don't feel that you're ready to truly let go of the fear programs and the paradigms and embrace this New Earth opportunity, then talk to me. I work on donations. Even if you have no money, I don't mind. We can work together. It doesn't matter. The money will come in other ways. I'm here to serve because I've done enough within me to feel confident now to have removed that imposter syndrome and to believe that what I can do for you and with you is concrete, and it will make a difference in your life. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have an even better evening. I hope this content has helped you in some way. And if you'd be so kind to like, share, subscribe, and present this to anybody you feel that could use the help, I'd be so grateful. And I'm putting the desires out there, and I'm putting the intentions out there to be able to create more content more regularly. So stay tuned for that. And I'm really, really grateful for you all. And thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care and goodbye.